What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about hiring NPCs in Fortnite because I see a lot of people in my community have a very different perspective on the NPCs than I do. I get asked this question a bunch when I'm playing on stream. People will often be like, why don't you hire NPCs? I hire them all the time. I think they're great. And I also have seen players complaining about losing to people hiring NPCs as if it's like some huge advantage. So I ran a poll on my YouTube channel, and surprisingly 60% of the people who voted in this poll told me they think hiring the NPCs were good, and I have to hard disagree. And of the players I know in this game or talk to in this game that are good players, don't really know anybody who thinks highly of the NPCs. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. As always, if you guys do enjoy the video, find it helpful or informative, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what you think of NPCs in Fortnite or hiring NPCs in Fortnite. So I've always kind of felt that they aren't very good, like I said, and most of the time when I fight someone who has a hired NPC, I just completely ignore the NPC, focus on the player, because in solos, if you eliminate the player, or in duos, if you eliminate the duo, if you eliminate the real players, the NPC will no longer exist. So here's a clip here of me fighting somebody. They have an NPC hired. It's very obvious that this is an NPC. They have that glitchy effect on them. And then also this aura has like question marks and exclamation points above their head. I get first shot on this guy, I get in close. His NPC is basically in between me and him, and the NPC doesn't do a single thing the entire time, and I just completely ignore the NPC while I shoot him out of the sky. Since so many people felt highly of him though, and I haven't really used them, I've only played against them, I decided to try using NPCs just to see if my opinion on them would really change at all. So I hired an NPC in several matches, and I ended up winning games with them, but I don't really think the NPCs really contributed much to me winning the game, or really had much of an impact in the fights at all. They're really usually super far behind me, and by the time they actually started shooting or getting involved in a fight, it was pretty much already over anyways. You know, like there's oftentimes fights in this game where you hit a good shotgun shot on somebody, they miss their shotgun shot, you both kind of swap to your spray weapons and spray, and then you switch back to your shotgun and shoot them. And like once you hit your first shot and hit good and they miss their first one, you pretty much have that fight won, you know what I mean? And so on like the second shotgun shot, the NPC would finally start shooting. But at that point, you know, the fight is already over, and the NPC really didn't have much of impact on it at all. And that is my experience having an NPC on my side and playing against NPCs that other players have hired. I feel like mine didn't really contribute much of anything to a fight ever. And I feel like when other players have NPCs hired, theirs don't really contribute much to fights whatsoever. So as far as like winning fights goes, or being an OP strategy for winning fights, I really don't think the NPCs are it. One really interesting thing about the NPCs though is with the squad comms options, you can tell your NPC where to stand in certain areas. This will depend on your binds, your keybinds, but for me, it's right on the D-pad, and then you can tell your NPC where to stand, and it'll basically just stand where your crosshair is as you click that. And this is actually really good in certain game modes, especially zero build kind of stalemate in games. I feel like we've all been in those games where just like it's maybe a 1v1v1 in solos and just absolutely nothing is going on, and you're kind of waiting for the other players to make a play, they're kind of waiting for you to make a play, and it often just becomes like whichever two players fight get third partied by the last one, and then the game's over. Situations like that are really kind of just sending an NPC to stand out in the middle of the field and maybe catch somebody off and give away their location could be a somewhat interesting strategy. So I tried to make that happen, and I have this in game here where I basically just had my NPC stand in the center of zone. I had my own edge of zone. The other two players were in front of me, and the NPC actually, you know, did draw some fire and did kind of throw a wrench into this game where basically nothing was happening. One player started fighting my NPC. I got them really weak, and then just kind of like didn't really do much to them to see if the NPC would actually eliminate somebody. And the NPC did eliminate this player. And then luckily the final player actually ended up trying to third party that guy fighting my NPC. And so we got a really easy win after the fact. I think I would have won this game anyways. This final player was a Rick that I had been shooting, or a Morty, that I had been shooting a bunch over the course of the game, and I was just kind of trying to send my NPC at him to see if the NPC would do anything, and he kept getting away. So in a situation like that, maybe the NPC could be helpful. Those really just nonsense, you know, or really slow-paced endgames where nothing is happening and maybe there isn't much cover. Just having something start that you can kind of play off of could be an interesting play. So that is one of the main uses I've found for the NPCs. One on the flip side though, they can give away your location in some end games, which isn't the best. Like I definitely have had fights or situations where there's nothing really going on, everyone's kind of hiding, but you see like a player's NPC just standing next to the tree, or you see somebody's wolf just chilling next to the tree, and that kind of gives away their location. So it's kind of a pro and a con. You can send them out into the field, but you can also kind of have your own location given away by them. And that's kind of how I feel about the NPCs. Like I said, that game, I used it to win. I think I would have won anyways. Every fight I had with an NPC, I don't think it really mattered. And in general, versus good players, you know, the fights that really matter in a game, you know, if there's 3 good players in a lobby and then a bunch of below average players, the fights that really matter are going to be those fights versus the good players. Maybe the NPC will have value in the fight versus like the lesser experienced players, but you were probably going to beat them anyways. You know, the fights that really matter are going to be versus the harder competition. And I feel like most good players, it isn't really going to throw them off because the NPCs have that glitchy effect around them. Most people who have played the game a lot know that that means it's an NPC, and then they just completely ignore it in the fight. And then, like I already said, you do run the risk of the NPC potentially giving away your own location, but it's kind of a risk reward. It doesn't really do much for you. It's 100 gold, so it's not like you really spent much to get it. There's some downsides. You can send it out into the middle of a field and maybe bait shots from somebody and then translate that into a kill. And then one final really nice thing about the NPCs is that in team game modes, they can revive people. So this is really nice, and I haven't played enough squads really to really know if this works well. But if you're fighting another team and somebody gets knocked, hypothetically, you could continue fighting that other team while the NPC revives your teammate. I'm not sure if the NPC prioritizes reviving versus fighting, like if it won't go for the revive until the fight is over. But from comments I've read, it seems like the NPC will actively try to revive people in a fight. And that's nice, you know, 100 gold for that, certainly. As far as like something healing people during a fight, I think that's actually incredibly effective. But I don't think it's really going to help you fight. Like the combat of the NPC is very low tier, but as a medic, they can be quite good. And another interesting thing is that everybody in your team can hire their own NPC. So if your entire squad hires NPCs, you basically have assembled like a little army. One final thing I do want to touch on, and this is just based on like player streams that I've seen that hire NPCs regularly. It seems like some people kind of hire the NPC and then they expect way too much out of it. And I feel like this is actively detrimental in a fight, because if you've ever played team game modes, and you know you're going in on a fight and you expect your teammate to follow up with you and actually do something, and then maybe they were on a completely different page, you definitely play different when you're expecting help, you know? And I feel like if you hire NPCs and you're constantly expecting help from the NPC that just doesn't arrive, I feel like that is actively detrimental to you, and you would probably be better off without hiring the NPC. So if you're in that park where you hire them often and you're expecting a lot out of them and they just consistently underdeliver, it might be better for you just not to hire them at all. But those are going to be my thoughts for the NPCs in this video. I think for, you know, kind of bait, they're pretty solid. For reviving people in team game modes, they're pretty solid. As far as actively helping you in fights, I really don't think it's that valuable. And as far as like impacting your win rate, I don't really think it's something that'll impact your win rate too much. And there's just like far more like important aspects of the game or other things that kind of contribute much more to the outcome of a fight than whether or not you hired an NPC. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, found it helpful, informative. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.